Well, hello, Buster Blank here with another edition of our little mini writing workshops. And this time around, we're going to be talking about creating great characters. Because we love stories, we love the plot, but it's always the characters that keep us coming back for more. And I learned this at a really young age, probably with this book series. You might not have heard of this series, but I loved this when I was a kid. It's called the Three Investigators series. There we go. There's a pretty good look at it. Robert Arthur created this series, and he came up with three characters. And what I learned from these books is that you might have three characters working as a team, but they're very unique, and he draws them in such unique ways. And the way he does that is by explaining the quirks that they have. And that's really important for you as you write your stories, whether they're short stories or novels, is that your characters have some sort of little interesting quirks that make them stand out. Because we all have those. That's what makes each one of us unique. So that's what I learned from that series. And then when I moved up a little bit into a little bit more complex books like Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim. I hope you've read this book. What was interesting about this is that you learn so much about characterization from characters who aren't even human. But what I learned from this tale was about injecting emotion and motivation. Because Mrs. Frisby has to learn to trust the mysterious rats in order to save the life of her son. And so what Robert O'Brien, who wrote this book, showed us was how to define character actions, why characters behave the way they do. And that word is crucial. Why? That's why in my writing workshops, I always recommend that young writers begin by writing a biography of their primary character or first couple of characters. Because when you write a biography of a character, you're actually digging into why they behave the way that they do. That's really important. So it doesn't have to be much, maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. I'll give you an example of how I did this with one of the stories I wrote called Madison Cooley's Shoes. Okay? So what I had to do was come up with motivation for why Madison behaved the way she did. So here's a quick little glimpse into that for you. I knew that Madison Cooley would be an only child, that she'd never learn to appreciate the great life that she has, takes her parents and friends for granted. And somewhere inside, we wonder if there's a good person in there, buried under a layer of spoiled brat. What must happen to strip away that nasty layer? So that's how I came up with kind of building a backstory of Madison Cooley. You could take other books that you enjoy already and practice writing biographies. What if you wanted to take, say, the Hunger Games series? Here's one of them by Suzanne Collins. And you could practice writing a biography on Katniss. For instance, you would note that she was motivated to provide for her mother. Because remember, her mother fell into deep depression after her husband died. And she also was motivated to provide for her little sister. Katniss feels responsible for her family. And that causes her to mature a little bit faster than her peers. That's why she's so resourceful. She has to be able to survive even before she gets to the Hunger Games. So we learn a little bit about what's behind her motivation. And then finally, do your characters grow in some way? Do they evolve? Do they change? It's not important necessarily whether we like the character or not. I think it's important that we feel something for that character and we want to see some sort of change. I think we want them to learn and grow because deep down inside, we want to learn and grow. And so we often do it right alongside some of our favorite characters. So write some biographies, even practice using biographies of characters in books that you've already read. Use that as practice if you would like. And remember, the story is great, but the characters are what bring us back and what make us really love a good book. So there you go. Get busy writing, and we'll be back next time. I think, is our next section on setting? Yeah, and I love that, how to create a terrific setting for your story. That'll be next time. I'm Buster Blank. We'll see you, okay? Bye. Get writing.